Good morning, friends. Shall we start?
Good morning, sir.
Shall we start? Yeah, only 15 here, but anyway, we'll start the session. Okay. Last week we discussed, started with litigation procedures, where we discussed the legal system in Sri Lanka affecting the banking industry, and what are the legal structure, how the legal issues that on our uh, lending and lending and recovery. Okay, so we started the recovery. That recovery is finally comes to enforcing the uh, charges, the simple charge uh, documents with regarding this collateral or securities, or charging on securities. The charge on securities should be completed by legal requirements. What are the legal requirements? In that sense, we discussed what are the legal requirements, what are the legal what do you call, statutes and structure banking in Sri Lanka. Okay, so we'll continue today with that. And what are the legal procedure, legal systems available, starting with mediation boards, commercial arbitration. Then we have magistrate courts, district courts, and commercial high courts. For the litigation, the institutions are mediation boards, commercial arbitration court, magistrate court, district courts, and commercial high courts. These are the four legal structures available for us to file action, legal action against a defaulter for recovery. Beyond this, beyond commercial high courts, there are two more legal institutions, that is the appeal court and Supreme Court. Appeal court and the Supreme Court, there are two more judicial institutions are available, those for remedy for the distress any party, defaulter or the bank. That is of course, but we cannot directly go to appeal courts or high court. It is in the process we have to go. So it is, since most of our cases are civil cases, so we have to go to district court first, get a judgment, or we have to go to commercial high courts, get a judgment. If the judgment we are not satisfied or the customer is not satisfied, we can go next to the appeal court. Even appeal court judgment is not happy, you can go to final stages, the Supreme Court, right, to get a remedy. Supreme Court is the supreme, there are no jurisdiction available in the country. Before 1972, before Sri Lanka was made a republic, independent republic, we were able to go to Privy Council in London, UK. Privy Council, that's the final one. We had to go to Privy Council. But now, with 1972 Constitution, now in Sri Lanka, the Supreme, the highest court is Supreme Court. Okay. Therefore, what are the action we can take? What are the legal actions available? We have in magistrate court, we can file summary proceedings, money action, hypothetical action, and debt recovery act, action on debt recovery act. These are the legal action can be instituted in the court of law, right? First, yeah. So we start with the legal structure procedures. First, in mediation boards. What is the mediation board? How to go to mediation board? How to file action in the mediation board? And what are the remedies available in the mediation board? Mediation boards Act No. 72 of 1988. There are several amendments. in 1997, 2011, and 2016. There are three amendments to this Mediation Board Act. What is the role of Mediation Act defined in Section 10 of the Act? It is duty of the Mediation Board is to make every endeavor to bring the disputed to an amicable settlement. Bring the disputed to an amicable settlement. This is the role of Mediation Board. Okay, so let's understand what are the parameters to what extent we can go for legal action with the Mediation Board to bring the disputed to an amicable settlement and to remove with their consent. Right? With their consent. So therefore, we have to understand very carefully, the Mediation Board does not have any judicial authority. Mediation Board does not have any judicial authority to issue an what you call judgment or order. Right? That like in magistrate courts, they are issuing orders. Supreme Court, they are issuing orders. That is their judicial authority. District courts and high courts, they are issuing judgments. When they are also issuing orders or judgment, the consent of other party is not necessary. It's not necessary. Other parties they have may their consent of their issues can be presented. Finally, a judgment or an order given for one party. Therefore, there is no amicable settlement there. It is an order or judgment in the other judicial system. But Mediation Board, there is no judicial authority since they can do only bring the disputant to a settlement with their consent. If their consent is not there, there is no further direction can be given by the Mediation Board. So, with the practicable and with the practicable to prevent recurrence of such dispute. That should be a practicable solution to both parties, solution for both parties, and to prevent further that type of action. That's the role of Mediation Board. When you ask to define the role of Mediation Board, this is the important point. The role of Mediation Board is to bring the disputant to an amicable settlement and to remove with their consent whatever practicable to prevent recurrence of dispute. So what type of disputes can be brought into Mediation Boards? That is defined in Section 7. Right? We dispute in relation to movable or immovable property. Okay, dispute in relation to movable or immovable property or a debt, right? Damage or a demand, right? Debt, damage or demand. So these are areas where this covers our judicial requirement. Right? Our debt is when you are alone, it's a debt. Right? When you ask demand to pay certain amount, that is coming under this purview of the Mediation Board's disputes. Right? So dispute related to movable or immovable property, that means mortgages. Even mortgage we can go to Mediation Board. Movable mortgage or immovable mortgage. Right. It's a dispute. Here the value is 500,000 rupees. This is evident in 2016. The limit has been increased to 500,000 rupees. So any case, the value up to 500,000, we can go to Mediation Board and find a solution. Find a solution means come to settlement with the customer for settlement for payment on payments. Okay, so that is the authority of the Judicial Board. What type of cases can be discussed in the mediation board. Right. Then what is the procedure in the mediation board? Always try to come to a settlement. Compromise, come to settlement, with consent of both parties. Come to a settlement. If they come to a settlement, right, the issue a certificate to each disputant under section 6, right? You can issue a certificate to each disputant that is case is settled. If there's no settlement, possible, or failure to comply with or violation of settlement, section 14 and section 12. Right. If the disputes are not there's no settlement under section 12, as no settlement certificate should be issued. If no settlement is reached, matter will be presented for court for jurisdiction. To go to the courts, you have to get a no settlement certificate from the mediation board. The case is brought to the mediation board, parties are not agreeable, not came to a settlement. So we can ask for a no settlement certificate. With that no settlement certificate, we can issue legal action in the court of law. Right? Sometimes you may find certain courts, they are not accepting cases below 500,000 without referring to the mediation boards. Some judges are accepting, some judges are not accepting. Therefore, always we have to try to go for a mediation board. Any case is the 500,000. Any default of recovery, we can first go to the mediation board of the area, and if there comes to a settlement, we can continue. Not come to a settlement, then we have to ask for a no settlement certificate. With that no settlement certificate only, we can go to the higher court and district courts. Right? The important factor there is no attorney at law, agent, or other person shall be entertained or be permitted to appear on behalf of any disputant in any matter before board. Section 50 says that. That means if only directly the disputants, bank, since it's a bank, non-physical body, you can appoint somebody on behalf of the bank appear, whereas the other party is concerned, they can't bring lawyers to attorney at law because there's no jurisdiction in this case. There's no judgment or order can be issued by the mediation board. Therefore, no attorney at law or agent or any other person is not permitted to appear to the case. Right? If there's no settlement, it can be presented to mediation board. Issue a certificate when as a settlement made in respect of any dispute referred by court under section 7 and 8. Okay? Under 7 and 8, 7 is the course of action and 8 is the referred courts. Right. Then what is the importance of going to mediation board? What are the important factors? What are the important factors relating to going for the mediation boards? First one is, it is by law, it is specific. Any dispute less than 500,000, any dispute regarding loans, default, less than 500,000, we have to go to mediation board first and get a certificate of if shall not come to settlement, get an issue certificate, no settlement. There again, section 14 says failure to comply with or violation of settlement. No settlement certificate can be obtained from the mediation board if the parties come to a settlement and one party have violated the settlement. One party has violated the settlement, then we can go to, we have to go to mediation board regarding the violation. Okay? This is very important for a banker or any lender. If you try to come to a settlement with a borrower defaulter, right? To come to a settlement, get a settlement certificate. After that, if the defaulter is not comply with the settlement or violation, or violated the settlement, then we can go back to the mediation board and ask for a no settlement certificate. Ask for a no settlement certificate. With that no settlement certificate, we can go to the court, present it for the court for jurisdiction. Relevant courts, we can go with jurisdiction. Okay. Now that is second component. Important is mediation. Third important factor here, as a hidden important factor, is there. Right? The hidden importance for the lenders. If the defaulter come to an agreement and failure to comply the agreement, settlement or violation of the settlement, we take a no settlement certificate. So now this no settlement certificate is very important when we file action in the higher courts, normally the district courts. What is the course of action in the district courts? What is the course of action in the district courts? When you go to district courts, there should be a course of action. In single we say, nadu nimitta. Course of action has to be instituted. The course of action will be, right? The course of action will be violation of settlement. Violation of settlement, not the default. Okay. Now, if we file action for default, it is the duty or the responsibility of the plaintiff, that the bank or the financial institutions institute legal action, the responsibility to prove the case. They have to prove the case that there's a default. Go to mediation boards and go to with the no compliance certificate or violation of settlement certificate, we go, the course of action will be violation of settlement, not the default, not the recovery of default. So what the course of action we ask, our prayer is to issue order or judgment to implement the settlement. To implement the settlement. That's a very important legal background in this case. If this comes to provide this series action, it's very important for the bank and lender. The important factor is that the customer or the borrower, the defaulter, cannot contest on the documents thereafter. Okay, the most important factor is that defaulter cannot contest because the attorney has told them legal bodies, they all are there in attorney, they try to find fault with the weaknesses in our documents. Right? Weaknesses in our documents. But if you come to settlement and non-settlement, we are going by violation of settlement, that stage has been already passed, lapsed. That stage has been passed. The document, proving of documents should be in the third stage. And there's a settlement came by the parties for a repayment program. Right? Now, thereafter, when you go to courts, we ask you to implement the settlement, and therefore, they cannot contest on our weaknesses in the document or weaknesses in the process or any other matter. Because because the default already agreed, it came to a settlement. Now we asked him to implement that settlement. That is a very, very important factor for the bank in this Mediation Board Act. Okay, that's why we are bankers or the lenders. Always try to go to mediation board first and bring the default into the mediation board and get a no settlement certificate. Get a settlement certificate first and allow the customer to violate thereafter, and then we can straight away get a no settlement certificate and go to courts. But if you get a no settlement certificate, without a settlement, without complete settlement with the parties, then there will be cases different. Then that cases will be different, right? Because the case will be thereafter. Then we are filing action on our documents and the default. Therefore, we try to get maximum, get the customer involved, get a settlement, possible settlement. Don't worry about the violation. Cannot comply or violation. We can go easily and file action, and that will be the procedure will be very fast and simple. Right. What is the procedure? Now this mediation boards are not for the bankers. Not for the bankers. On the inception itself, it says objective is to settle the dispute arise in the mediation board area as described in second schedule under section 7.1. Right? The 7.1 says movable or immovable property damage or demand, any cases. So this act is an Community Arbitration Act. In 1988, this has brought to reduce the workload of the judicial institutions, to reduce the workload by bringing the settlement outside the court of law. Bring the settlement out of the court of law. Under that context, the mediation boards are established as an community arbitration system. Community arbitration system. So not directly for the bankers or the lenders. We can use this Mediation Board Act based on the section 7.1, where the dispute is related to our default. Right. What is the procedure of going for settlements? For mediation board. It's very, very simple. We have to find out the mediators are normally appointed from the respectable people in the community in that relevant area. Judicially, there will be normally will be a divisional secretarial area normally. Each area establish mediation board. So we have to find out the chairman of the mediation board, and there will be chairman and number of members appointed by the Ministry of Justice. They are appointed as Justice of Peace, right? They are JPs appointed for the board, and they will be respected people from the area. Buddhist priests, parish principals, teachers, public servants. There are only these consist of these mediation boards, right? And they may not have a judicial background. They may not have a judicial background to discuss matters or legal matters in the mediation board. Secondly, we have to find out who is the chairman and say give an application. That application, you have to give the name of the disputants right? Bank and this who are the responsible parties, the borrowers, the guarantors, all these names. And you pray that on such a date, such amount borrowed by this person, and it has been witnessed by so and guaranteed by so and so. Now this facility has been defaulted with regard to the mutual fund. So we ask remedy to recover this, to come to settlement for a recovery of this facility. That's what our mediation board, we are requesting from the mediation board. We are not using the word pray because it's not judicial authority. Okay, right. So when the mediation board call, there are certain in the of course towns, of course, not much have a impact on it, but in the village areas, it has a bad social impact on the filing action in the mediation boards. Sorry, when the cases are filed at the mediation boards, the chairman will issue what you call summons to the parties. Normally, summons will be distributed either by Grama Sevaka or by a police officer. Most is the Grama Sevaka. Right? So Grama Sevaka means he knows everybody in the area. So it is now becoming published that this person has defaulted to the bank. Right? This is becoming a social pressure on the customer or defaulter. Normally, Grama Sevaka in the summers, bank you ask something like that, that's more than enough to pressure in his mind. Okay, when you go to appear in the mediation boards in the village areas, that will give a mental pressure to the defaulter come to a settlement. So therefore, this community arbitration system can be used, very strong media for recovery. Right? So the procedure will be there within 2 sessions. It has to be what you call settlement or non-settlement has to be given by the mediation board. 2 sessions. If the banks cannot come to a settlement, there may be issues of the defaulter may ask certain concessions. The person who appears the mediation board may not have that authority to offer that concessions at the mediation board. So he has to ask for a time and come back to the bank or our office and discuss with our higher management who have authority to take that decision. And if I come to a settlement with that, with that what you call the concessions, we can negotiate with the customer. For example, if the customer asking for more time for pay, if he's going to extend the period, or if he asking to reduce the loan installment to meet his able to pay within his cash flow or the repayment ability. Those are positive signs of coming for a settlement. So we have to come back to the bank or the institution, discuss whether we can reschedule this facility. We discussed this earlier, but it's rescheduled. So we can reschedule the facility and extend the period, reduce the loan installment, and then come to a settlement at the mediation board. After the settlement, if the customer defaulted, then we have course of action, go to courts, ask to implement that the settlement or the agreed in the mediation boards. Okay, let's For example, or sometimes customer may request for interest waivers, right? Sometimes some are beyond our decision making level. Some are have to go for the policy decisions. So those things, of course, we cannot come to settlement. It has to refer to the courts. So you have to get no certificate and refer to the courts. Okay, so that's a very much simple process, low cost recovery mode, where cost is only 5 rupees for the stamp duty. Those kinds of things increased now. I have seen that thereafter. A simple application that we can hand over to the mediation board. There's no very big legal procedure. Okay, so you can directly discuss, negotiate with the customer up to settlement, which is one of the strongest recovery mode in the most of the banks nowadays, because we don't have a communication with the customer. Most of the time when we go for recovery, most of our recovery officers threaten the customer, given at the Nadugaro. If you're not paid, you file action. So that is the last resort available for the bank. Ultimate Turumpu, final trump card. So we should not use that. And that's why we can discuss with the customer. I told you earlier, recovery is solving the customer's problem. Okay, we started with that. Recovery management is to solve the customer's problem. If you try to solve the customer's problem, automatically our problem is solved. That's the concept. So what is at the mediation board implemented is that concept. Understand the problem of the customer and try to solve the customer problem. So that will be easily can come to the conclusions and recovery. So this was implemented if successfully. Most of our NPAs, small amounts, small loans can be solved easily. Okay, let's go for the next level of mediation is called Commercial Mediation Center, Act number 44 of 2000. Commercial Mediation Centers. Now in 2000, this act was brought in the parliament and approved to facilitate disputes arising in the commercial sector. Arising in the commercial sector, this act was brought. Essentially, the act provides for the establishment of the center, the structure, functions, and powers. What are the functions of the center? Under section 3, functions of the center which shall be A, promote wide acceptance of mediation and conciliation for the resolution and settlement of commercial disputes. Commercial disputes. Right? Mediation and conciliation about commercial dispute. To encourage parties to resolve commercial dispute by mediation and conciliation. Without going to courts, out of the court settlement can be conducted. The conduct and the facilitate the conduct of proceedings are the settlement of commercial disputes, the adjustment of differences arising between parties in commercial matters. Mostly parties may not understand the commercial terms. These commercial terms may be misunderstood. That type of this thing can be when the arbitration can be built up. Now this is an arbitration center. Okay. Now this act implement this commercial center, commercial arbitration. It's called commercial arbitration. It has to be established in our, there should be a clause in our agreement, loan agreement or the overdraft agreement. At the time of, what you call, executing the documents, this clause has to be incorporated in our act. Then only we can use the commercial mediation center for arbitration. Otherwise, you can't. There should be a provision made in our agreement. So, none of our agreements having this clause. Therefore, very rarely you can use this act. Because I have not seen any of the loan agreements that any dispute will be uh, referred to arbitration at Commercial Mediation Center under the Mediation Act number 4 of 2000. That clause is not there, right? But if you find that in the import trade, when you get LCs open, finally there's a clause in the LC application. There's a clause. Any arbitration, any dispute in that LC or the documents will be settled at the arbitration center of the ICC, International Chamber of Commerce. That is incorporated there. Therefore, all our disputes we can, if we want, can go to arbitration center in the LCs. Similar action should be incorporated in our agreements, where then we can use this commercial mediation center for business purposes, business customers. Very unfortunately, some of our legal officers may not be agreeable for these mediations. I don't know. I have discussed certain matters, certain cases regarding this commercial arbitration. They say it's a cumbersome and time consuming. It's better than going for courts. The time consuming period is less than going to the courts, if it's so. So there are certain legal officers may not agreeable for this type of arbitrations. Now this under Commercial Media Center, the arbitration board is applied by the Ministry of Justice from from the certain organization, Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Industry, or there's sometimes some professionals in the financial industry. Likewise, from there only this bodies consist of. Therefore, they are more professional than mediation boards in discussing negotiating commercial activities. Okay, so we have to keep in mind there's a certain provisions are there in the legal system. We can go for commercial dispute for a separate arbitration center. Okay. Right. Next will be filing action in the magistrate courts. Now, if you be carefully your participants, when you examination, most of the time, most of the cases, when you ask a question, not specifically mentioned but the judicial system. Specifically not mentioned in the judicial system. Which court you are filing action, either district courts or magistrate courts or commercial high courts. That has to be specific, and the procedure applied to that judicial system only we have to negotiate and discuss. Most of the instances when you come to discuss about the legal issues, recovery by the legal, most of the candidates in the examinations just write File action in the courts. File action in the courts. Which court? What type of action? There are different type of actions. In just little while ago we discussed. Right. You can go to magistrate courts only for criminal cases. Only for criminal cases we can file action in the magistrate courts. Right? According to legal structure we discussed earlier, banking matters are coming under civil procedure code. Banking matters are not coming under criminal procedure code. It is civil procedure code. Therefore, all civil procedure courts have to file action in the district courts, not in the magistrate court. So this has to be specified in your answers. This weakness I have seen most of instances not specified. Okay, keep that in mind. Right. Now, what is this magistrate courts we can file action? Only criminal offences. What are the cases in the banking defaults falling under this category? Falling as a criminal offence. It is under TR ordinance itself. Number 12 of 1947. It has given the authority for the bankers for certain types of facilities, that is TR facilities, trust receipt facilities. Trust receipt facilities defaults are considered as criminal offence. Trust receipt ordinance 12 of 1947 defines default in TR loan, trust receipt loan, is a criminal offence. Why? Under TR ordinance, trust receipt facility is under trust. The facility is given on trust. There is no collateral attached to this facility. There is no collateral attached to TR facility, trust receipt facility. This facility is given on trust to the customer. Specifically, we are using this in the import trade. We are giving on trust this facility for importer to clear the merchandise from the port and sell, and within the period given, 3 months or 6 months period, it has to be settled. Goods are given on trust. On trust. Therefore, breach of trust is a criminal offence. Okay, that's how it's becoming a criminal offence. Breach of trust is a criminal offence. Okay, right. Let's discuss what is this TR. Little about TR facility. I don't know whether we have discussed in the earlier the types of facilities. What is TR facility? It may have discussed at the international trade finance. The TR facilities are coming up. And there are certain TR facilities are there called local TRs. TR facilities are normally applied in the international trade for import trade. But there are certain TR facilities are there. 1990 amendment has been directed as local TRs. So I'll just briefly give what is local TR for implementation. Right. That's very easy. Now, whenever trust receipt loan is entertained to the customer, it has to be registered in the land registry as a registration of documents ordinance as a bill of sale. The land registry should be registered as a movable, not as immovable, right? Movable. It has to be registered as a movable under the registration of documents ordinance as a bill of sale. Right? The bill of sale have to register. If you are not registered as a bill of sale, we may not be able to pursue legal action. It has to register the land registry. Okay. Under TR ordinance, section 4 of the Act number 13 of 1990, in the amendment in 1990, breach or fails to comply, breach or fails to comply, guilty of offence, and shall on conviction after summary trial before a magistrate will be liable to imprisonment of either description for a term not exceeding 3 years or to a fine not less than amount that money stated in the TR to become payable thereunder the agency and not exceeding 3 times of that amount. That means original amount plus the interest. It should not increase 3 times of the value, TR value. Okay. Right. Now this is where TR ordinance is applicable. How the TR ordinance is given. Now let's little understand what is the TR facility, how the TR facilities are applied, what's the local TR. Right. TR trust facilities are whenever importer imports goods. Right? Whenever import goods, we have to establish a letter of credit, LC. Legally we call a document to credit, DC. The banking terms we call this as a LC, letter of credit. Under letter of credit only the imports rate has to establish. When the goods are arrived at the port, depending on the terms of the sales agreement with the seller and the buyer, that is the exporter and importer, the payment has to be made. If the financial documents are says documents should be released on payment on site for site bills. We call those a bill of exchange or site bill or a draft. Site means we have to pay first and clear and get it. There are sometimes the exporter may give time to pay. 7 days, 14 days, 1 month, 3 months, like that, can be extended period. So those bill of exchange are called as tenor bills or users bills. We would discuss in the international trade, financing international trade, these terms will be discussed. Right. Whenever it is a side bill, you have the importer has to pay to clear the documents. Without the bill of lading, you cannot clear the goods from the ports. Merchandise cannot be taken out from the port without paying, without making payment. Documents will not be released without payment. To release the documents, banks have arranged 3 types of facilities. 3 types of facilities. First one is TR loan, trust receipt loan. It is coming under TR Ordinance number 12 of 1947. The second one is hypothecation loan or a hypothecation overdraft. Third one is pledge loan. Now there are 3 types of facilities available for under the import trade. Under TR arrangement, TR agreement or TR bond, the customer or the importer will be release the goods, executing the TR document called TR bond, trust receipt bond or trust receipt agreement. It's governed by trust receipt ordinance. That he is undertaken to sell the goods, sell the merchandise and pay the loan. The loan facility will be maximum 6 months. What is the time taken for sale is given the customer to settle the TR facility. There is no collateral attached. Right? So carefully understand this. There is no collateral attached in the TR facility. Just a document called TR bond, signed by the importer, agreement with the bank to settle the facility within a certain period after selling the merchandise. Okay. Then the second one is hypothecation loan. Hypothecation is a term for assigning the goods. Assigning the goods. So banks will again release the merchandise under the hypothecation bond, where the what you call title document. Title document is bill of lading, right? Bill of lading is the title document for under import trade, for the imported merchandise. So the title document will be held by the bank under hypothecation as a collateral. So therefore, it is second one. The hypothecation loans are securitized. TR loans are unsecured. They are given all the documents to the customer on trust. Hypothecation loan holding the TR, the what you call title document at the bill of lading till the settlement bill of title document will not be released. According to the law, whoever having the bill of lading having the title of the goods. Merchandise may be whoever's had it may be, whoever is having the title document, that bill of lading, have the legal title over the goods. So having the control over the goods by the title document held by the bank. That's called hypothecation loan. Third one is pledge loans, where goods will be kept under constructive control of the bank and the importer. Constructive control, bank and the importer, which will be retaining, and whenever paid fully or part, goods will be released from the bonded warehouse. That's the third facility. I'll come back to the TR ordinance, how TR Act with the Section 4 will be applicable. Whenever a customer is given a TR facility to clear the merchandise on the port, right? The procedure will be importer will sell the goods and pay back the loan to the bank. If the customer, the importer, taking the merchandise and defaulted, when his defaulted is concerned under Section 4 of this Act as a guilty and offence, it's a criminal offence. Breach of trust is a criminal offence. Therefore, bank can lodge a complaint in the police. Bank has to lodge a complaint in the police that this customer, first you ask for the, in the defaulter, first you ask the importer to return back the goods got given under trust. Return back the goods given under trust. If you fail to do that, then you file action, lodge entry in the police. Police will file action in the magistrate courts, taking the importer to remand custody. It's a criminal offence, therefore can take him to remand and present for magistrate, and case will be a summary trial before a magistrate. And the TR Act is given there 3 years rigorous imprisonment and or fine of the value of the merchandise can be ordered by a magistrate. So therefore, normally we give this TR facilities for highly preferred good customers. So having good backlog. Right? Okay. Understood? That's how the TR facilities are built. Now the TR, there's an amendment in the 1990, Amendment Act number 13 of 1990. It has been extended for local TRs. Now we discuss about the import TR. Local TR means the same concept can be applied by the bank under TR ordinance. And mostly we bankers, we apply this in uh, in print loans. For print loan, instead of a print loan, we'll can institute give a TR facility. Now, for example, specifically is paddy and other crops. When a miller want to buy paddy, right? Normally, what we give, we go loan and take the paddy into our custody, and we keep the lots in our warehouse, and we have to ensure we have to look whether it has been properly kept, pest and the other damages. Warehouse has to be in a good condition. If the customer defaulted, we had to take the possession of the goods and sell and recover. This is the pledge loan system. Instead of giving a pledge loan, right, merchandise can be bought by the bank. Merchandise can be bought by the bank and given to the miller under TR. The paddy millers had to get into a contract under TR Act that goods merchandise will be given on trust within a certain period, 3 months or 6 months. The loan has to be paid in settled in full. Right? The same terms and conditions. Advantage bank in this TR facility is bankers do not have to look for the the safekeeping of the goods or storing, control, nothing. Everything given to the customer, and he will having the responsibility of storing, insurance, and other all the activities. Bank will only give the TR facility, the trust on the trust. If he is default of the loan facility, we'll ask him to return back the merchandise or the goods given on TR. Right? If you fail to return back, then we can file action in the magistrate court and implement 3 years regressive person. All the fine can be recovered from the customer. That's called local TR. So these are new products. In 1990 it has been brought to the system. I don't know what extent the banks are using this. Some of the banks are using this TR facility, local TR, in Polonnaru and Ampara districts, where the paddy millers are given the paddy and the TR facility. So this is called TR facility. TR facility basically makes it it's an unsecured facility where merchandise, either local TR or import TR, merchandise are given to the customer to sell and pay back within certain period. Maximum period will be given 6 months. Right? If that's not paid back, bank can file a complaint, and the police will arrest him and bring forward for the magistrate. The magistrate, then thereafter, we had only to prove that we are given this facility. So PR bond will be the base topic. Okay, so only instance is PR. Earlier we had another facility falling under criminal offense that came under Agrarian Services Act. Agrarian Services Act 1990 amendment, there was a clause, the Agrarian Services Act 1990 amendment, there was a clause saying that any facility, loan or a recommendation given pledging or assigning a what we call agricultural land. Okay, it's very clear. Read the wordings, right? Under Agrarian Services Act, giving a facility, credit facility, overdraft, or any assignment charging on an agricultural land. It's not only agriculture, cultivation, any loan facility where the agricultural land will be pledged to the bank, right? If it's defaulted by the customer, the borrower, you can file action in the magistrate court for a breach of trust. Okay, this 99 amendment was there. Then we had opportunity for all these agricultural loans which has been defaulted. We filed action under magistrate courts for defaults of these agricultural facilities. But unfortunately, in 2016, this Agrarian Service Act was amended, and that clause was removed. So now we have to use normal procedure in such cases. So earlier we had that till 1990 to 2016. That has been removed. Okay, right. So only one instance. You can go to magistrate courts, defaulting facility, even under TR ordinance of 1947. Okay. Right. Now let's go to the other actions. Right? Before that one, I discuss what are the actions can be instituted under Civil Procedure Code. We discussed earlier summary proceedings. Actions are summary proceedings, then regular proceedings called money action, and hypothecary action, and debt recovery act. There are 4 types of legal issues can be instituted under Civil Procedure Code at magistrate district courts and commercial high courts. Now let us discuss filing actions under district courts. Right? Legal action to district courts, money action, summary proceedings, hypothecary actions, action on debt recovery act number 2 of 1999. So we have to select which action is more suitable, more advantage, and how to apply this in what case. So we should know the legal structure for filing action in the courts, district courts. Right. We firstly start recovery action under civil ordinance, the summary procedure. According to the Civil Procedure Code, Section 704, under Civil Procedure Code, Section 704, any claim on promissory notes, checks, bill of exchange, or any documentary evidence. So our loan agreement, overdraft agreement is a documentary evidence. Okay. Any claim on promissory notes, checks, bill of exchange, or any documentary evidence, the summary procedure could be applied. Or otherwise, go for regular procedure should be applied. There are 2 types of legal action can be instituted at the district courts. One is summary procedure, other one is regular procedure. The regular procedure is called as money actions. Okay. What is summary procedure? If the court considers that the evidence as provided by the plaintiff establish a case against the defendant, that's the defaulter, court could issue a decree, that's the judgment, without allowing the defendant to submit explanations. Therefore, this procedure is faster than the regular procedure. Okay. Now, this action is somewhat closer to recovery of under Debt Recovery Act. Same process will be there in the Debt Recovery Act also. Okay. But there are certain conditions for going to Debt Recovery. We'll discuss a little later. That. So the summary procedure is the shortest method where a customer is defaulted. If our documents are strong, where we can prove without and beyond doubt that customer has defaulted, and we can pray for a decree without allowing the defendant to submit explanations. There's no what you call issuing of summons. There's no what you call filing answers. There won't be any trial. Straight away, judgment can be obtained based on the documents. Okay, so the wordings in our documents should not be vague. It should be very specific and straightforward. For example, see the promissory note, right? Any payment of promissory, if you given a customer a facility, if you have taken a promissory note, what is the promissory note? Yeah, it's called in Indian terms we call it IOU notes. IOU. Yeah, and the borrower says, I have borrowed sum of money, the amount from such and such a person at such and such interest rate, and I agreed to pay that amount on such as no before on such and such a date. Promise to pay on no before such and such. It's called promissory note. Very simple document. These promissory notes are incorporated in our loan agreements, right? It's incorporated in our loan agreement. Promissory note, these wordings are incorporated in our loan agreement. Normally, there are certain instances we are giving clean loans. Clean loans are not overdraft, right? Don't understand that. For an eminent, prominent citizens in the country, where they cannot go for, if they are needing short-term facility, and they may not be obtaining a collateral is a long-term case, and the short-term intangible type of collateral is also not possible, and if they cannot ask to get a what you call guarantor from a person. Also, in such instances, we consider facilities in clean basis, without any collateral. Only a promissory note will be taken. It's called pro notes. Only a pro note will be taken. Right? Now, make it get me pan and ask. Mr. ask you, we can give clean loans without taking any facilities. No, don't misunderstand that. This facility can be given to exclusive high-class customers. Right? Permanent secretaries वगैरह companies with high position than directors का, right? They are high, their positions are very high. They need short-term finance, and their prepayment sources we are fully understood and established. We can grant. Even cases here. Okay. Then the checks. The defaulted check, we can go under the summary procedure case. In bill of exchange and any document evidence, summary procedure can be given. So only thing prepare a plain and file action. How to prepare a plain? Plain and the document evidences. prepare a plane, right? That means a story. How, who is the customer, how much I given, when has been given, who are the evidence, what are the evidence, what are the documents, and the evidences, document evidence for such case, and issue a decree nisi on defendant. After filing such, decree nisi means the judgment will be issued on the defendant. Issue of summons if request to be approved by defendant, it is the second one. After issuing nisi, he can challenge the document, like here, what you call, certificate can be contested in the court's later. So summary procedure where the order is given directly on procedure, on the strength of the document evidence. Okay. We go for the next one is the recovery action under Civil Procedure Code ordinance. Civil Procedure Code. It's called regular procedure. It's called, normally we call it as a money action. The regular procedure is applied under civil ordinance, takes a long period to recover. Normally this recovery cases are going from 5-6 years or sometimes more than that. The long procedure. Right. Let's start. What are the steps involving filing action in the courts under money action? Right. Why are you going for money action? We have file action, money actions, or the civil procedure, normal procedure for file action. Why we had to go for money action? Number one, if we have got a facility without a collateral. If it has a collateral, earlier, last week we discussed enforcing of collateral, legal enforcement of collateral. Right? That's the procedure. But if there's no collateral, we cannot enforce a collateral. So we are used to the money action. So money action is based on the loan agreement and the overdraft agreement. Okay, loan agreement based on the loan agreement. Therefore, our loan agreement has to be without any suspicion for doubts. It has to be clearly understood. The loan agreements, the base document. The base document is the loan agreement. Okay, so the loan agreement is the base document. Where the loan agreement, based on the loan agreement only, money actions is established. Where there's no collateral. Or collateral is taken but weakened. Collateral cannot be enforced due to legal barriers. I gave you the incident last week, one of the cases. No? Mortgage bond register case. We have taken a collateral, but the collateral document cannot be enforced. Then we have to go for money. Right? Thirdly, unsecured facilities. Unsecured facilities. There's no collateral has been taken, only the loan agreement, then we have to go for money recovery action. Right. To instrument the money recovery action, the first step is to send a letter of demand. I discussed last week what's the letter of demand. Why we send a letter of demand. Right? What is the background, legal background of the letter of demand? We discussed last week in the Parrot actually following comes with letter of demand or a final notice. Letter of demand is given when you file action in the courts. Letter of demand is without a letter of demand, we cannot request to make an order to pay the loan by the customer. I told why the reason is also I discussed on the legal background of our relationship, bank-customer relationship. Based on that, without demanding, we can ask from the customer. So we have to establish the demand. When it comes to court action, we have to demand for the full amount outstanding. Otherwise, customer is liable only to pay the outstanding amount. So therefore, we have to demand full amount. Therefore, a return demand has to be established. That's it. Within 14 days, if customer not responded for return demand, we have to institute the legal. We have to take the legal action. Within 14 days, if the customer responded, we can negotiate with the customer. There are certain instances, we have some banks, there's number of letters of demand have been sent. Only one letter of demand. What is happening in this particular bank, that particular branch of the bank, manager, the manager came and a strong, strict manager, and went through all the defaulted facilities and decided to file action in the courts. So issued letter of demands. Customers has not responded. While the process, he has been transferred and some other manager came. And he has been forgotten about what the previous manager had done. Normally, anything, previous regime ignore. So letter of demand has forgotten by the customer, forgotten by the bank. And after some time, again, this new manager comes in, he also issues letter of demand. Issuing letter of demand becoming a joke. Action customer knows that. When you issue a letter of demand, copy should be in the file and also make a note on the relevant ledger, note that letter of demand sent on such and such a date. If there's no response, you have to take immediate action. Okay, the second important factor is to get a board resolution. I told you last week, any recovery action can be instituted only by the board of directors. There's no authority down the line. Nobody else has given a delegated authority to file action in courts or charging on any security. That's a board. That's the sole authority. So we had to get a board resolution approved. So two things. We had to get. One is the proxy. Board resolution for proxy. What is proxy? Appointing a legal officer to continue with the legal proceedings. Right? When a proxy is given for a legal officer, any legal officer, internal or external, he had to carry out the entire legal procedure till the end. Normally, the legal position cannot be changed subsequently without board resolution again and again, without proxy. So there should be a proxy by the bank or the legal, the lending institution, appointing a legal officer to continue with the, that's the board resolution, number one. Second, file action in the district courts and to be found. These two things has to incorporate in the board resolution. Okay. Once the board resolution is approved and the proxy are given for a certain lawyer, legal officer, file action, then he had to prepare the plaint. Now, to prepare the plaint, the branch has to give the very important documents. The number one is the agreement. This document is the agreement, loan agreement or the overdraft agreement. Original and copies, I think about three copies or 5 copies. Right, depending on the lawyer, they'll ask 30 copies. Original agreement and the copies. Then secondly, the security documents. Security documents. All the other documents obtained, photocopies and the original security documents. Thirdly, to prove that this customer has given the facility, he has taken the money, the certified copy of the ledger sheet has to be attached. Ledger sheet attached karan. From the day 1 to the date of filing action, all the transactions in the ledger sheet has to be attached to the documents to prepare a claim. Now, I have missed that is the correspondences. Correspondences. The correspondences are the evidences of acceptance by the customer. Customer gela mama Havalda I'll pay within 2 weeks. I'll pay on that such a day. Those letters are very important. Those are evidence of accepting the loan. So those documents are very important. Okay. Our documents go in the bank way. Correspondences. WPB department. Under custody of Ibsl Factory. When you're going to file action only, we are searching for customer correspondence. Customer name, Lima Kevalatuna. Very important evidence of customer's commitment. These are missing in our files. Right? So all credit officers must understand there should be 2 files for customers. Loan customers, there should be 2 files. One is the security documents file. A file is on a fireproof safe haven. All the security documents should be kept in a fireproof safe. All the correspondence should be separate files and it should be in the photo cabinet. Customer order file. The problem is regularly you have to update the files because there are certain correspondence are valid only for certain period only. We call prescription period. When the prescription period is lapsed, it's no point of keeping those documents in the files. We can remove it. Fresh new ones can be replaced. So whenever new item is going to replace, any document which are more than 1 year, more than 3 years, depending on the prescription ordinance, should be removed. Otherwise, the correspondence file is getting bigger and bigger. You need more space in the bank to keep these files. Right? So, update current regularly. Then once what is the plan? The lawyer will prepare the lawyer who has given the proxy will prepare the plan, saying that the what is known we normally call as a in the normal terms a complaint. That he so such as a person or such as a date I obtained this facility from the bank and dispatch. These are the witnesses who signed seeing this was customer signing the agreements, documents, and these are the terms and conditions applied to him, and now he has been defaulted, and he has to pray for or a claim. Once the claim is prepared, all these documents, agreement, documents, good documents, registry, and the correspondences copies will be attached together and given to the to file action. We are at the registrar of the magistrate courts. You have to pay a stamp duty to file action, given the file to the magistrate. That has to be done by the bank in the bank branch. Right? You have to go to the registrar and hand over the file, establish a case. Once the case is established by the district courts, then registrar will issue summons to the defendant, borrower. Now, this is the most crucial part in this recovery action. Most crucial part. Without serving summons, you cannot go ahead with the case. So you have to deliver the summons. Who will deliver the summons? Fiscal will deliver the summons. Right? Fiscal will deliver the summons. How the summons are issued? Whenever summons are issued, the fiscal will take the summons to the defendants. Mr. Pereira comes forward and says, so fiscal returns back and make a note on the summons. Defendants not available. In the court, also for case, the fiscal come forward and say, summons to issue the summons, the defendant is not available. Then court reissue, reissue. Again, he goes like that. Now this time he gives something to the fiscal and say, so he is not accepting the summons. Till you deliver the summons, case cannot be established. So this procedure will take about 5-6 months. Each time he goes there, he absconded. So here, our intervention is very important. Our intervention is very, very important. Whenever deliver the summons, you tell the fiscal, I'll accompany you. I'll accompany you. Right? And you have to give something for him on the hand. Otherwise, they will not work what you call as their duties. And push them. Right. So, you go with summons, go to the defaulter's house and tell, this is Mr. Pereira, give the summons to him. We are involved in that. Otherwise, every time the fiscal goes, he is absconding, will not accept it. Right. 3 or 4 times if we try it like that, this overtakes after about 9 months later. So every time case will take me after 4 months or 5 months. And the third time or fourth time, when it comes to issuing of summons, we can request to issue the summons on the registered post and paste the summons on the defendant's house, that is the borrower's house. Paste the summons that will be accepted as a delivery. And send it by the registered post. Even the sending by registered post, he may not accept. It may be getting returned back to courts. So, delivery file is very important. Summons. Once you deliver the summons, once you deliver the summons, then he had to come to the courts on the great petition in the summons. He had to, the defendants has to come to the courts, so we also have to go to courts. And now he had to file answer to the plaint. අපි ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයක් දීලා තියෙනවා. ආවල් දවසේ එච්චර ගාණක් ගත්තා. එන්න ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එක, එන්න අහවල් තියෙන එවිඩන්ස් එක. This is evidences. Right? So we are ready to prove those things. So he answers the plaint saying that I have not obtained any facility, I have not gone to the loan, the bank, and this is not my signature. He may charge. Right? So all these controversial issues may come out. He may not agree for anything. And the court will see, plaint, the bank says he has borrowed this. He says he has not borrowed, he has not gone to the bank, he has all this are wrong. This is not his signature. Now, judge decide to go for a trial. This is the next cumbersome job, to prove the case in the trial. You have to lead evidences. First step, plaint, we have to prove all our documents in the courts. We have to prove all our documents in the courts. You will bring the evidences. Witnesses, we have to bring the witnesses. And witnesses will be cross-examined in the trial. When the trial is taken to see who tells the truth, whether the bank tells the truth or the customer tells the truth. So customer has to prove his answer, bank has to prove their claim. So there will be evidences from the bank, and on the customer side, their lawyers will be cross-examined. Right? Kastala will try to break the case. Judgment in the case. Now let's see how we in the banks get ready for a case. Then trial again. Let's come to the level trial level. Right? Now how are we getting ready to file? උදේට මැනේජර් එනවා ෆයිල් එකක් තියාගෙන අද සිල්වමාත්‍යාගේ කේස් එක නේද? ආවද උසාවි යවන්නේ we going to the branch and coming to one person and say, ඔයාට අද මොනවද තියෙන්නේ වැඩ? ආයෙ හදිසි නෑ. ඔයාලා උසාවි යන්න මේ ෆයිල් එක තරම් උසාවි යන්න. This is how you get prepared for the case. So that innocent chap, maybe a branch clerk or assistant or junior officer, are carrying this file to the courts. When you go to the courts, right, you get seat in the bench, and the judge will call the case, and the interpreter will tell, bank available? Yes. So you ask you to get into the evidence chamber or that position. Right? Saki Kudo again. So we are give the oath. Bible Hari, we can tell us. That is the oath. At that point, Sakyan is Satyam is Satyam. There's a terminology, so you say that. Then the defense lawyer will ask question from you. Asking, may loan එක දීලා තියෙන කොයි කාලෙද? මොකද කියන්නේ දැන්? මොකද කියන්නේ දැන්? ෆයිල් එක දුන්නු දෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ නේද up or down. මම දන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට මේ බැංක් එකේ මේ ලෝන් එක මේ කස්ටමර්ට දුන්නේ. ඒකත් දන්නේ නැහැ. Because he has not known anything about the case. The person who appears in the court does not know anything about in the file. File එක අරගෙන review. So on the other side, the defense lawyer says, Your Lord, Your Honor, Your Honor, don't carry me. High Court again. Your Honor, see, the bank is not ready to go with this case. And they are not still a witness to give witness about this case. The witness does not know anything about this case. So we pray to dismiss this case. We case again, Nishpabha කරන්න. Bank is not interested in the case. So my cases here issue වෙලා තියෙනවා. Yes, we have seen number of cases dismissed without we are not prepared. So you have to prepare and go. Okay, you have to meet the lawyers and ask what type of question they are going to ask, how to answer the questions, what type of question you are asking, and how you are going to answer, what are information in the agreement, what are information in the documents. All this has to be discussed before go to the courts. We have to get prepared, discuss with the lawyers. එහෙම ගියත් උසාවි දහන් ප්‍රශ්න උත්තර දෙන්න බෑ. Right. මගේ experience එක කියන්න. I had to appear for a case on behalf of the bank. So I took the file and went to the courts. I was asked to get into the chamber, witness chamber. So I give the oaths. And defense lawyer first question asked him, when did this loan has been granted? And this loan is granted in such and such a year. Then what is your position? And the credit officer is my grade. Okay, is the grade. Okay. Then the next question is asked, which year you joined the bank? I joined in such and such a year. That means at the time of granting this facility, you were not in the bank. You are not in the bank now? So I had to explain that no, although you are not in the bank, I studied the case. No, I don't want all these explanations. I want a question, yes or no. It's called close-ended questions. I want to answer yes or no. Were you in the bank at the time of this customer is obtaining this loan? If I say no, what will happen? Then you are not aware of this facility. How can you give evidence? Not knowing any. You are not in the bank at the time of granting the facility. එහෙම කෝණ කරලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Yes කිව්වත් වැරදි. Right? බොරුනේ අනිත් පැත්තට බොරු සාකි කියලා මම උඩට දායි. So anyway, if the plaintiff, our lawyer make what you call protest against this cause, asking that type of question and ask the judge to refer to avoid this type of question, then they'll ask embarrassing questions. Okay, so very difficult to prove a case. Witnesses scale, this is not your signature. This is not my signature. So we have to prove that that is his signature. So you bring other documents, current account mandate, savings account mandate, loan application negative signature, all these signatures we are bring and show and prove that it is signature. Sometimes the what you call the defense lawyer will ask courts to send the documents to the commission of documents to get a certificate from him. Procedure very long. right? කොහොම ගිහිලා අවුරුදු 5ක් 6ක් ගියාට පස්සේ we are getting the judgment. We are getting the judgment. උසාවිය යනවා හැතියන්තයි. නඩුව දිනු. නඩුව දිනු. ඇවිල්ලා කියලා අපි දිනු නඩුව. කොසල්ලි. Have you recovered? Not yet. Now the case. Now you have to get the money from the customer, defaulter. So for which you have to make a writ order. You have to make a writ order. Writ order. To get a writ order, you have to tell what are the assets the customer is having. What are the wealth the customer is having. And ask the courts to seize those assets, sell those assets and recover and give our money. From writ order we are asking that. Unfortunately, after the time of us filing answer to the judgment, there are ample time the defaulter can transfer all the assets, properties to somebody. ඔක්කොම තියෙන අත්කම ඔක්කොම ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆර් කරලා is something anything. So writ order එක ගන්න එනකොට උසාවියට නම් කරනවා අප්පාවි උසාවියට කියනවා අනේ හඳුන්නේ මට තියෙන අත්කම මේ බැනියමයි මේ සරමයි විතරයි ඒක ගත්තොත් මම හෙළුවේ. What will court say? Judgment will be issued. Defendant is bankrupted. Recovery is not possible. And a final judgment එක අපි තාම වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි මේක ඔය judgment අරගෙන ඇවිල්ලා board paper එකක් තාම we prepare a board paper that after all these cases, filing action, recover everything, we fail and to write off this board paper එකක් දානවා. Most of our cases end up with that scenario. Okay, the writ order එක successful වෙනවා මොනවද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ? Now I discussed the procedure, court of action, regular procedure action. It is very cumbersome, very difficult to prove, very difficult to resolve because most of the documents are weak. Our documents are weak. My relaxation dependent on our documents are defects. Okay, so therefore, it is very difficult to prove the case. Even though we get the filed action, get the judgment on our behalf, when it comes to getting the recovery order, everything is good. Now, when after judgment only, we also going to find out what are the assets he is having. It should be in his own name, not in others' name. Even joint assets you can't. So it's all in his name. That's why the loan application, when you get in the loan application, you ask the customer to fill that what are the assets you are having. Right? What are the assets you are having? The list of assets, the loan application, we ask him to prepare fill it. Make a picture seriously gandhi loan process this is one of the important factors. What are the assets customer is having? Then, when you file action, summons issue karna, customer answering file kara dawasata, okay, when the defaulter comes and filing his answer in the courts, you had to make a what you call stay order ganno. Motion file karanno. You had to file a motion to get a stay order. Not allowed to sell any of these assets. So I'll give the list of assets of the customer having. All assets, till the end of this case, these assets cannot be transferred or sold, and freehold or gun owner. If you have done that part, right, when it comes to it, but we have. Otherwise, you are a loser. ඒ නිසා තමයි කියන්නේ මේ ට්‍රම්ප් එක this is the last Trump we are having. The last Trump we are having. කස්ටමර්ට කියන්නේ බා අඩු දානවා කියලා. දානකොත් කස්ටමර් කියයි දාගෙන ඉන්නේ කියලා. But he knows that our wicket is weak. He is stronger than us in legal action. We have points. We have got more points against us when you go to courts. So this is very important to understand. Right? So this is the last resort we are having for recovery. Okay. Right. There are certain instances where ඒවන කියන හොඳ නෑ නේද? රෙකෝඩින් එක යනවනේ. එන තව තියෙන ක්‍රම තියෙනවා මේ the legal to get success in the recovery under courts. Certain methods are there. There are unethical methods also. Some finance institutions, not the banks, some finance institutions, they apply these type of techniques. Some apply these type of techniques to get recovery. Okay. Right. So that's the procedure steps in filing action under normal, regular procedure or under civil procedure code. Okay. Next one is hypothetical action. Shall we have a small break? Break क्या करेंगे? Mortgage hypothetical action discuss करेंगे. Right. Any question on what I have discussed up to now? Any clarifications?
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay, there are 16 participants. Okay, we'll have a small break and come back. Okay, shall we start? Shall we start? No response.
Okay, sir.
Okay, no? Right. Let's start the next district courts filing action. We discussed summary proceedings and money action or the regular proceedings. The next action will be mortgage actions, where we have a legal mortgage, either for immovable or a movable. Specifically, any mortgage property, we can file action under Mortgage Act number 6 of 1949. We can file action called hypothecary action. So this technical term, normally called as a mortgage action. Hypothecary action means an action to obtain an order declaring the mortgage property to be bound and executable for the payment of monies due upon the mortgage and to enforce such payment by a judicial sale of the mortgage property. Judicial sale of the mortgage property. This provides a specific remedy to obtain an order from court of declaring mortgage. In other words, we file action in the district courts where mortgages are concerned to implement the mortgage. If the customer defaulted, to implement the mortgage, to sell the mortgage property and recover the money and pay the money to the the lender, whoever lender. It can be a bank, it can be a money lending institution or individual. Hypothetical action can be instituted. So why we should go for hypothetical action specifically for banks? Specifically for banks, why should we go for hypothetical action? We are a mortgage, we have a separate legal system we discussed last week. That parade. Discussed last week, for any mortgage, a movable or a movable mortgage, we can go for a parade action. Where we cannot go for parade action, right? If the value is less than 500 million, the value of facility is less than 5 million, right? Original amount granted is less than 5 million, and if the mortgage cannot be executed due to legal defects, mortgage action, the parade cannot be instituted, mortgage can be instituted due to some acts, then we can go for under hypothetical action. Okay, where parade cannot be established, then we have to go for a mortgage action. Then under Section 7 of the Mortgage Act, notwithstanding anything in the Section 34 of the Civil Procedure Code, a claim to enforce payment of the money due upon a mortgage may be joined to claim in a hypothetical action, or a separate action may be brought in respect of each remedy. Section, right? Civil Procedure Code, Section 34, which provides take money action. Then Section 7 of the Mortgage Act, it gives it to take, can enforce, make a claim under Civil Procedure Code in the court of law to enforce payment due on a mortgage, on a hypothetical action. In every such action, the mortgagor shall be sued as a defendant whether or not he is in possession of the mortgage land at the time when the action is instituted. Right? For example, if a customer has borrowed the money, we have mortgage his property, but he has sold his property to somebody else or transferred the property for somebody else while the mortgage is in force. While the mortgage is in force. Therefore, even though the property is not under his possession, according to the mortgage bond, is the legal title. Title is with the legal title is the bank under the mortgage. So therefore, even he sold the property, he is liable to pay the loan under the mortgage. So he can sue him as a defendant, right? Right. Next action, money action. Next action comes with the Debt Recovery Act. We'll take the Debt Recovery little later. First, we'll go for hypothetical the High Court, commercial High Courts. The next option available for us to apply, go to High Court, commercial High Courts. Applicability of High Court of the Provinces Special Provision Act. Under that, High Courts are established in the provinces where we can file action and under the commercial High Courts. High Courts are there. There are commercial High Courts also established under this Act. Section 2.1 of the Act, number 10 of 1996, where the High Courts were established, stipulates that every High Court shall have exclusive jurisdiction. Exclusive jurisdiction. That means they can take cases straight away. Right? Now, Supreme Court, Appeal Court, they don't have exclusive jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction through a High Court or a District Courts. Right? After that means other cases, appeal only they can go. Appeal courts and Supreme Courts, they can file action only for appeals. So it has to be dealt at the lower courts. High Court shall have cognizance of all and full power here and determine in the manner provided by the written law all actions, applications, and proceedings specified in the first schedule of this Act. What are these things we discussed? Scheduled to this Act, if any party or parties dependent to such action resides or the course of action has arisen or the contract sought to be enforced was made is within the province for which such court is established. That means, in other words, any for that matter, any law, any legal action can be instituted in that jurisdictional area, in that area only. Okay. First schedule to act specified allocations where the course of action has arisen out of commercial transactions. Now these are the where the high courts can be file actions straight away. Course of action arisen out of commercial transactions, including courses of action related to banking, export or import or merchandise or service affreightment, insurance, mercantile agency or mercantile usage and construction of any mercantile document can be filed action straight away at the high courts. Right? Commercial high courts. Which the debt, damage or demand for some exceeding 5 million rupees. Right? So what are the cases we can file action in the high courts? Some exceeding rupees 5 million rupees. Now file action in the district court has a limit. There's no limit. Any amount you can file action in district courts. But in the practice, less than 5 million, it has to come through, right? Less than 500,000, less than 500,000 should come through a mediation board. Less than 500,000 should come through a mediation board. But it is not a must. It is not a must. Therefore, there's no limit in the district courts for filing action. Any amount, take a file action. But in the commercial high courts, you can file action over 5 million rupees. Then the recovery of bank loans, special provision act, parade can go. Again, the loan value is above 5 million. Now here is the different. Parade 5 million, the principal amount granted. 5 million is principal amount granted. Here, High Court, damage or demand is exceeding 5 million rupees. That is the 5 million, exceeding 5 million rupees, inclusive of the interest and other charges. Okay? Not the loan value, loan initial amount. It is the loan plus the all outstanding is above 5 million. Damage or demand. Demand is what you are going to claim. That is the loan amount plus the interest due is over 5 million. Straight away you can go to High Court for provinces for decision. For such other amount as may fixed by the Minister from time to time by notification published gazette, other than action instituted under Debt Recovery Special Provision Act 2 of 1990. Now, very important, we cannot file action under Debt Recovery Special Provision Act number 2 of 1990 in high courts. It's only in the district courts. There are two cases, decided cases for that matter. It was held Iswan and others versus Bank of Ceylon and Seniviratna versus Lanka Oryx Leasing Company Limited, that all actions instituted under the Debt Recovery Special Provision Act 2 of 1990 as amended Act number 9 of 1994 fall outside the jurisdiction of the High Court of the Province Act number 10 of 1996. In other words, we cannot file action under the Debt Recovery Act at High Courts. It is only which comes under civil procedure courts. Right? So it comes under civil procedure code. If you discuss the district court budget action, same action can be instituted in the provincial high courts if the value is more than 5 million. So the large loans can be easily handled under high courts. Therefore, it should be highlighted that the district court is vested with jurisdiction to hear and determine the actions instituted under the Debt Recovery Special Provision Act as amended by Act number 9 of 1994. Right? Only district court is vested with the powers to hear under the Debt Recovery Act. There's no limit. Above 150,000, any case, you can go for that. Right. So before we go to the other one, let us discuss about the procedure of high courts filing action is same as filing action in the district courts. Here the important procedure is there's no issuance of summons. High courts, they won't issue summons and there are no lead evidences. Right? There's no lead evidence under the evidence code at high courts. In the high courts, when the case is established, both parties, the plaintiff as well as the defendant, the legal officers or the what we call lawyers has to present written submissions and the oral submissions. Written submissions and the oral submissions of the plaintiff's lawyers, plaintiff's legal bodies, and say on the other side, it can be defended by the defendant's lawyers. Right? There's no evidence are taken from the people, from the evidences not been forwarded. Only written submission and verbal submission of the lawyers. Right? Understood? Therefore, parties say සාක්ෂි විමසීමක් නැහැ. Documents proof කිරීමක් අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? But if the court decided evidence to be led and should be taken into consideration for individual evidences, the court will decide to send the case back to the district courts to lead evidence and send it back after their conclusion of evidence. Right? So, therefore, without evidence, within a shorter period than the district courts cases, high court, commercial high courts can be decided the cases. It won't take much time, like in the district courts, because there's no evidence, lead evidencing. There's no trial. Actually, there's no trial. Right. So these high courts have to be established for large amounts in every province to decide the commercial transactions specifically, inclusive bank loans. So we can file action now for over 5 million. Total receivable is over 5 million and the high court. Okay. So these are we have discussed structure of the legal bodies and type of legal action we can take to recover facilities. Right. Then comes to the final one, Debt Recovery Special Provision Act number 2 of 1990. Now be very careful. There are two legal provisions there, but this is Debt Recovery Act number 2 of 1990, Special Provision Act number 2 of 1990. The other one is Recovery of Bank Loans, Special Provision Act number 4 of 1990, which is deal with the parade. Work examinations already. Most of the participants, when you talk about the parade, they say Debt Recovery Act. It's completely wrong. Parade is Recovery of Bank Loan Special Provision Act. Debt, that is a separate legal system. Debt Recovery Act is a right instituting legal action in the district courts. Right? Instituting legal action at the district courts, modified or specified manner. That's a difference. Right. Lending institution mean a licensed commercial bank within the meaning of Bank Act number 30 of 1988. Right? So this, when the 1990s was established, it was mentioned that all commercial banks, licensed commercial banks, can file action as a lending institution under the Recovery Act. State Mortgage Bank and Investment Bank, National Development Bank, National Savings Bank, DFCC are other commercial banks which are the other specialized bank. All these things are specialized bank. Now this National Development Bank is not the NDB, right? This is a former National Development Bank before it was converted into a commercial bank. Before that only this 1990 Act was born. And DFCC also same. Development Finance Corporation Law, before it has been converted into a commercial bank, licensed commercial bank. They were treated as specialized bank. State Mortgage Bank, NSB are specialized banks. And also a company registered under Finance Company Act also can file action under the Recovery Act. Okay, so commercial banks are covered. Registered finance companies are covered. Who are not covered in this under the Recovery Act? Who cannot go to courts under the Recovery Act? What institutions? There are some institutions they cannot file action under the Recovery Act. So they have no authority under this Act, specified in section 2(1). Yeah? Leasing companies are not coming under this. Leasing companies cannot file action under the Recovery Act. Why? Why the reasons? The word is debt. Word is debt recovery. In leasing, there's no debt recovery. Because in the leasing, they are not given any debt, no? In leasing, they are not given any debt. So therefore, debt recovery act cannot be enforced for recovery any default in the leasing. Okay, I understand legal differences among the what is the debt and the what you call rental agreement or a debt agreement. Okay, also leasing companies are not covered. Then there are certain other lending institutions are there not covered by these two areas. What are those areas? The cooperative banks are not covered under this, right? All others are non-commercial banks also. Then later on there's amendment. All the licensed commercial banks and specialized banks can file action. The Debt Recovery Act defines the debt means a sum of money which is ascertained or capable of being ascertained at the time of the institution of this action and which is in default, whether the same to be secured or not. or jointly or severally. But it means individually or jointly own money. It can be at the time of institutional action capable of capable of being ascertained. Can be borrowed or can be available for borrowing. This is where you have a broad meaning under the Debt Recovery Act. What is a debt? And elite by the lending institution to have arisen from a transaction in the course of banking, lending, financial or other allied business activity of that institution, but does not include a promise or agreement which is not in writing. So there should be, therefore, Debt Recovery Act can be applied only in the documentary evidence, available of documentary evidence. Right. Under section 2 of the Act says, no action shall be institution for the recovery of any loan where the principal amount lent or advance was less than 150,000 rupees. Very important. Principal amount. Now, different legal actions, you find the amount amount of loan has been defined differently. So you have to be very careful when you are answering questions to specifically mention that. So debt recovery act, you can file action where the principal amount lent or advance less than rupees 150,000. Right? You can't file action. It's about, it should be about 150,000. Section 2 says that. Now, the difference will show that mediation board, there's no limit. Right? Outstanding amount is 500,000. Commercial high courts, outstanding amount 5 million. Whereas Debt Recovery Act, it is a principal amount over 5 million. Likewise, different legal institutions, they have legal separate interpretation about the amount of amount can be file action. So here, Debt Recovery Act, the principal amount granted is over 150,000. We can go for under Debt Recovery Act. Action be instituted by the representing a plaintiff in the form of specified in the Civil Procedure of Chapter 11, Section 3. Right, what is this procedure? A little while ago we discussed this procedure. Okay. If you go through this report statement, what is the procedure? This is the procedure. Under regular Civil Procedure Code, how to file action. Right? Even if you file action on the Debt Recovery Act, you have to send a letter of demand, you have to pass a board resolution, you have to appoint a lawyer, given a proxy, then prepare the plaint and file action. Up to this point, the MTU can be implemented. Then there's no issuing of summons, there's no filing of answers, there's no trial. Straight away the judgment is called ISI order. Right? File action, judgment will be given. That's why I told you earlier, even Civil Procedure Code, it has the same procedure like Debt Recovery Act. Okay. So therefore, we can understand that when filing the action can be filed and the judgment will be immediately given. Right? So the important factor here to understand is that the customer or the borrower, defaulter, has not been informed about the filing action. There's no summons issuance. There's no summons issuance. Straight away, action filed at the district courts, certain documents are given, and the judgment is given without even calling the defaulter. Right? That's the important factor in the Debt Recovery Act. An affidavit be filed together with the plaint to the effect that some claim is justly due from the defendant. only the document needed separate document mean, and in addition to the documents that are listed in the earlier list, and file a affidavit that this money is due from him. Affidavit to be given that money is due from the defaulter. In addition, shall present to the court the instrument, agreement, or document sued upon, section 4. Right? So all the documents, agreements, I listed out in the earlier this list, and the district filing action district court has to be filed. The instrument, document, or an agreement presented to courts to be properly stamped. It should be properly stamped. Now, this is one of the important factors we have to, where banks we have to pay consideration. How to pay the stamp duty? How to pay stamp duty? To pay the stamp duty, there are 5 ways specified in the Stamp Duty Special Provision Act. Stamp Duty Act, this is number 10 of 2008, which provides how to pay the Stamp Duty Act. One is affixing the stamps on the document. Fixing the physical stamps on the document. Or second one is embossed stamp. It's also called as impress stamp. That means take the document to the Illinois department, impress in the document the stamp. That's also a payment of stamp duty. Thirdly, the stamp duty also can be paid through a franking machine. Up to 9,999 rupees, you can pay through the franking machine. Fourth one, you can deposit the money at the Divisional Secretariat. And deposit the stamp duty at the Divisional Secretariat and get a receipt and paste this receipt on the document. And final one is adhesive stamps. Stamps you can adhesive, which can paste in the document. So all other 4 are very easy, can understand. There's no physical application of stamps in those instruments. But when it comes to when you stamp facing a what do you call physical stamp or impress, what you call non-impress stamp, we call as a pasting a stamp on the document. It has to be cancelled according to stamp duty ordinance to be valid stamp duty payment. To make the stamp, right? The affixed stamp has to be cancelled according to the manner prescribed in the Stamp Duty Act to make a stamp duty payment a valid payment. Section 3 of the Act number 10 of 2008 says, any person executing a specified instrument shall at the time of execution of such specified instrument, which is not stamped with an impress stamp, right? That means an adhesive stamp, cancel the stamps thereon by writing or marking in ink. Writing or marking in ink or on or across. On or across each stamp his name or initials, thereby preventing the stamp being used again. How to cancel a stamp? According to Stamp Duty Act says, making in ink on or across, writing his name or initials. Cancel the stamp. Okay. Now how we cancel the stamp? It is a signature. No? Is it a valid cancellation now? It's not mentioned anything anywhere in this act cancelled by a signature. That's nowhere it is cancelled by a signature. It is a right in the name. Okay. Now who had written the name? That also not mentioned in this act. Any person executing a specified information at the time of execution which not a stamp and cancel the stamp. Execute करने के नाम cancel करने के लिए any person can cancel the stamp by writing his name. So signature is not needed for cancellation of a stamp. Right? If you look at the documents, if you place a signature over a stamp, what will happen? Now we take the document, that instrument or document, to file action in the courts after some time, about 5-6 years later. By that time, what will happen? The glue on the stamps, the glue in the stamps have been dried off and stamp may be fallen down. It can be fallen down. So what will happen? There's no stamp on the document when you present it for legal action. Now once the stamp is fallen down, can you paste it back? Don't paste it back. If you paste it back, what will happen? That document will be suspect for fraudulent document. Right? Defense lawyer can ask the judge to send that document to Commission of Documents in Police Department to verify and give a report. So they will question and tell that stamp has been affixed of such as the date. So what will happen? At the time of execution, there's no stamp. The instrument will be not legally valid for enforcement. Never don't do that. You take a stapler and staple it. That's enough. Okay, so the stamp has to be cancelled by writing the name. Any person can write the name. Not necessary to write the person. So therefore, when you're taking a document, signature of the customer or the execution of the executor signature, it has to be kept placed above the stamp or below the stamp. So that will be appearing as a stamp. If not, what will happen when the stamp is dried off and fallen down, there's no signature for that document. Signature and original document when you forward in for file action to courts. So these are technical issues we have come across and we're going to file action in the courts. Okay. Further, where such specified instrument bears an adhesive stamp of value 50 rupees or more. Adhesive stamp 50 rupees or more, such stamp shall be cancelled by the person executing a specified instrument by perforating the same by either cutting or pricking the stamp with a suitable instrument. In addition to writing the name as specified in the section 3, for further cancellation of any stamp over 50 rupees has to be perforated. So you can do either by a puncher or using an instrument, get a pin or a hairpin, you can put certain holes in that. So that's a legal requirement. If that is not there, that stamp duty is not completed. There's no stamp duty payment. Cancellation is not completed. So over 50 rupees, there are two things. One is writing the name, other one is perforating. Now that's a question that will arise in your mind. Now do the documents which are taken by up to now, we got the signatures of the borrowers on the stamp. What will the position? So I had a program at the central bank at that time. The legal officers of banks, there are a number of legal officers were there. So they were argued with me about this cancellation. They said, according to the notary's ordinance, stamp has to be cancelled by placing the signature on the stamp. Okay. According to notary's ordinance, stamp has to be cancelled by placing the signature on the stamp. So my counter argument for that was, in the notary's ordinance, what is specified that is, when a document is executed by a notary, that is certified by a notary, that will apply. Our documents are not executed by notaries. It's in front of the bank officers. So we have a specific question in front of us. What extent our documents can be charged legally in relation to payment of stamp duty? Is a question. So still question is not answered. So wait and see where some lawyer from somewhere, he will take this up and he'll get a judgment, and that will be later amended. Either act will be amended or judgment will be applicable. Right? So therefore we have to prevent ourselves such issues better. When you are getting a stamp signed, write the name on the stamp over that and put the signature below or above the stamp. That is a practically prudent situation. Right, there's another. Any specified instrument bearing an adhesive stamp which has not been cancelled in the manner set out in subsection 3 shall be deemed to be unstamped to the extent of the value of such stamp. Section 4 of the special provision specifically says, if not cancelled, the way it has been mentioned in subsection 3, deemed to be unstamped. Make a seriousness. So this is a challenge at the moment for us. Further, there are certain provinces and issue certain financial statutes. I think Western Province and even Central Province, it has been applied, I think. Central Province was applied this. Stamp duty payment in Western Province for immovable property transfers. Whenever immovable property transfers, not mortgage, transferring immovable property, that we have property, land and buildings, when you're saying a transfer deeds, simple terms, transfer deeds, or sometimes bank taking then what you call sale, certificate of sale, instead of the title deed, certificate of sale. It has to be follow this rule regulation in the Western Province. The Finance Statute of the Western Province, 6th of 1990. This is a very long, very old one. As per section 62, instrument related to transfer of immovable properties should be endorsed by the Revenue Department of the Western Province to the effect of the actual stamp duty paid. Valuation of the properties is carried out at the Revenue Department of all the district office of the province office. When you transfer, writing a transfer deed, okay, removal of the value, the valuation has to be done by the Revenue Department or the district officer police office. You have to get a certificate from the valuation certificate from the stamp province office or their district officers. Right? Revenue Department of the district officers, they will issue the valuation certificate. Now, without that valuation certificate, whenever you can get a property mortgage obtaining, that title deed is not legally valid. Right? After 1990, which are deeds are written after 1990, should carry the valuation endorsed by the center, what you call the police office. Okay. This is what you call newspaper published in the newspapers. I got it some time back. According to this, 2018, 3/1, 1st of March 2018, from that date onward, this has been implemented. Now, for properties which have been transferred after 1st of March 2019 should bear the valuation report from the provincial valuer, and the stamp duty has to be paid to the provincial office and get a receipt, affix the receipt in the transfer deed. Right? So now we have a due job to see whenever transfer deed is presented for mortgaging, which has been executed after 1st of March 2019, where the land is located in the western province, that is Gampaha, Kalambu, Gampaha and Kalusura districts. Right? Should bear the valuation should done by the valuation department. It has to be chopped in the deed valuation, and the stamp duty payable has to be decided by the valuer, and that amount has to be paid to valuation department. The provincial office, and place the stamp, the what you call relevant receipt into the document. Then only the transfer deed is a valid document. Then you check the mortgage bonds, mortgage properties, transfer deed the 2019-18 March festival passenan making the Kerlanata. Then charge then penalty. So they will do a revaluation and tell this is the value. For the referent, you have to be a penalty, and we have to fix the stamp duty accordingly. Okay. There are new changes, these are old changes, right? I will come back to the Diploma Act. Now, what are the salient features in the Diploma Act? Salient features, number one. Document number one is the value should be over 150,000. Then we can go for Diploma Act. That's the first salient feature. Second salient feature is the document, instrument or agreement should not be open to suspicion by reason of any alteration, erasure, or other matter on the face of it, and not be barred by prescription. Whatever document you present under this act, file action should be clean. There should not be any alteration. No erasers. No matter on the face of it other than the what are required. Now this is very serious. Even now, most of the institutions taking initials of the customers on the documents. What is alteration? Alteration is changing any original statement. Anything typed or written, when you altering that, it's called alteration. Other than that, filling in the blanks are not alterations. Filling in the blanks are not alterations. So you don't need to get initials or signatures for that. If you take an initial signature of that, you can file action under the TR Act. Why? No other matter on the face of it. Anything there, then it can be rejected. That is what can be rejected. Still for all, we are doing that. This Act was passed in 1990. Now, how many years passed? 33 years passed. 32 years. Still, we are using the same old traditional method. And we cannot file action under the TR Act. This still we cannot change. Okay, so I'll use two examples, cases which have happened in the courts. It's happened in the courts once at Mathura, High District Courts. There was it was a March document, and which documents was scribbled from a blade and retyped. For a naked eye, you can't see that. Naked eye is very clear. But the defense lawyer put that into the light like this. Right? We do light it, Your Lord, can you see, Swamini? Can you see an alteration here? So they took and see, yes, has alteration in the document. So that is a loan agreement. There's an alteration in the loan agreement. The loan agreement was rejected. You can establish a case thereafter. Agreement is defective. In Mount Lavinia District Courts, this happened. There's a case like just typed in the parchment paper those days, and the amount was incorrectly typed as 10,000 rupees. So the bank has cut with a single line 10,000 rupees without scribbling. You can't scribble, and written 100,000 over it above the amount, and got the full signature of the customer. Okay. Now this customer has defaulted the facility, and this document has made as a witness document. It's also a loan agreement. Defense lawyer argued, taking this document, Swamini, at the time of execution, this document, there wasn't any alteration here. At the time of execution, this document, there wasn't any alteration. The bank has taken my client's signature over here under fraudulent intention to change this in the subsequent date. Defense lawyer argued that there was no alteration at the time of executing of this document. Bank has taken his signature at that place in fraudulent intention, වංචනික චේතනාවෙන්, to alter it on a subsequent date. පසු දිනයකදී වෙනස් කරන්න කස්ටමර්ගේ අස්සන කලින් ආවම තියාගත්තා. How do you disprove this now? Is the ball in our court? You saw documents came in a day. Documents should be perfect. I'll give another recent case This happened in the Colombo High Court. I was there in the Colombo High Court for a case. Right? Case එක මාළුවේ වලන් ඉන්නවා. දැන් මේ banking matter එක කරනවා court සාවේ argument එක කරනවා. I said there's no evidence there. The High Court document එක අරගෙන defense lawyer පෙන්නගෙන කියනවා. Your Honor, in the first page, para 1, the loan has given to AWCD Silva. Is correct? Yes. In the page 45, page 5, para 4. Page 5, para 4. The loan has been granted to ABN Fernando. To whom this loan has been granted, Your Honor? උලන් උත්තර දෙන්න. පටන් ගන්නකොට තියෙන සිල්වා මැදට යනකොට ඉන්න ෆර්නෑන්ඩෝ. It's a computer generated statement. Computer එක print out එක අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. Be careful. Most are stenographers when you're preparing documents. Parallel document එක අරගෙන ඒක halt කරගෙන යනවා. හරි? අවශ්‍ය දැන් halt කරගෙන යනවා. It's correct. All the terms and conditions all are same. නමයි amount එකයි අර customer details විතරයි වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. ඒ සම්පූර්ණ මුල් document එකම වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙනවා check කරලා බලන්න. Before you take this document to the courts. The document is completely rejected, case is over. තවත් පස්සර කේස් එකක් ආව ඒකත් කොළඹ හයි කෝට් එකේ ඉන්නවා. Defense lawyer took a statement, one of our bank documents but submitted as evidence. We call, Dear Lord, look at page 3, para 4. Right? Can you read until what is meaning of this paragraph? So, judge is going through. You can't understand. So, the two bench judges, right? So, given the other judge also to see. Just reading. There's no meaning of the sentence. උදලා දෙන්නේ. Sentence එකේ කොටසක් delete වෙලා. print out එක ගන්න වෙලා delete. So sentence is incomplete. Condition එකක් නැහැ. There's no what you call covenant. So the covenant is not complete. Document is incomplete. I give all these examples for you to understand the importance of documentation. I started this session. What is recovery? Enforcing collaterals. Charge to the bank. Collateral, charge document perfect loan recover. So all these cases I gave you to understand the gravity of it. When you're preparing documents, be careful. Nothing should be there on the face of it. No erasers, no alterations. Right? Now, when we working in the 1990s and all, we were working under manual system. We were using these typewriters, printing of typewriters. At that time, we have been taken these initials because the documents are printed documents on the typewriter we are filled. But today, all the documents are in the system. You just to retrieve the system from the system. Why we need Tipex to alter the printed documents created from the computer? So I will ඉදිරිපත් කරන සමහර document Tipex කාලා මහලා තියෙනවා. They printed documents. They printouts එකක් තියෙනවා. So our documentation is very weak. You have to redo again. Well, we'll go back. The salient feature. There shouldn't be any alteration, any matter other than that. What should be there? I said fill in the blanks. It's not a alteration. Cutting IV singular plural is not alteration. Any alteration, get a fresh document prepared. Don't get alteration, get a customer signature. It can be contested later on against us. Okay, this is our experience. Right. The court being satisfied of the contents contained in the affidavit shall enter into decree in eyesight. When the court is just satisfied the content in the affidavit, which are provided by the bank, and based on those documents, issue decree in eyesight. Decree in eyesight means the judgment. I told you earlier, under this Debt Recovery Act, only up to the filing of action, no summons were issued, no answers been filed, no trial, straight away judgment. So customer did not have any time to, even he doesn't know that there's a case against him, unless somebody from our inside tell the customer. Good relationships, okay. Okay, where a decree in eyesight is entered under Section 4 of the provisions made under Civil Procedure Code shall be applied to the service of such decree in eyesight on the defendant. Right? Under Section 4, provision says it's deemed to be given the decree in eyesight to the defendant. Judgment defendant then no. But as a precaution or practice, what we do, we put a newspaper notice that the degree in eyesight have been obtained against this customer. And also send a copy of the degree in eyesight to the defaulter to make to understand. Now the defendant can obtain leave from the courts to appear and show causes. After the judgment, the defendant, the defaulter, can get from the leave from the courts. That word called leave from the courts means to appear, that ask him to show causes against this degree in eyesight. That means, in other words, contest this degree in eyesight after the judgment is given. Right? The court will give leave to appear and show cause against degree in eyesight if Usavi will accept that. Upon defendant paying the sum mentioning the degree in eyesight or upon furnishing a security appears to be reasonable. Okay. Allow karano full amount Usavi deposit karano. Can be contested, depositing the entire amount in the degree eyesight at the courts or furnishing a suitable security to cover up that amount. Upon affidavit satisfactory to the court that there is an issue or question dispute which ought to be tried, so court will give ask to reverse back and go for a trial. Right? So their evidence can be evident. It can be contested by the defense defaulter or the defendant. In default of defendant obtains such leave for appearance and showing cause, that court shall make the degree in eyesight absolute. Within 14 days, if not come forward, then degree in eyesight will be made absolute. That means it can be confirmed. If it appears to the court that the degree in eyesight was obtained on insufficient grounds, or dismisses action, or degree in eyesight is discharged by default, or otherwise, or found no reasonable ground that court may award against the institution such sum as it deems reasonable compensation for the expenses or injury caused. What's it? If the degree nisa is, that means degree nisa means judgment is taken in insufficient grounds, incorrect information, faulty documents, and dismiss the action. Action will be dismissed. Or degree nisa is discharged by default. Degree nisa will be reversed back. Right? If the found guilt, the degree nisa will be reversed, the court will order the institution or the bank or the financial institution to pay compensation for the expenses and the injury cost. What does mean? All the expenses plus the injury cost mean for the defamation. Injury cost is the defamation. By taking the action against this customer, the defaulter, incorrectly, he can claim, depending on his position, like big damages from the bank. Because of this, most of the banks are reluctant to file action under Debt Recovery Act. If this could not be proved, the documents, it will be reversed back on the bank to pay not only the expenses, also defamation charges, and further no recovery. So one side tighten the customer, the other side tighten the bank also. So from the inception itself, when the loan is disbursed, from the inception itself, we have to alert. I told you earlier on my first session, whenever we're going to recover by legal action, we put the blame on the legal officers. The documentation are weak. Legal officers are not responsible for executing the document. It is you who are executing this document. It is you who are making these blunders. I'm not using the word mistakes. It's blunders. We make the blunders. So we had to pay for the blunders. Keep in mind. So Debt Recovery Act is a very good instrument. Unfortunately, still we cannot use that in the proper manner due to our weaknesses. Okay, let us go through what are the other important features in this Debt Recovery Special Provision Act. When the degree lies made absolute, it shall be deemed to be an writ execution duly issued to the fiscal in terms of section 225.3 of the Civil Procedure Code, section 1. What it says? In the normal case, money action or ordinary regular action, district courts, after the judgment, we had to find what are the things are available and make a writ order. Here, writ order is already incorporated in the judgment itself. There's no separate writ execution is needed. Very important. If any person resisting the fiscal shall be deemed to be guilty of contempt of court and shall be liable to the penalties prescribed by the Judicial Act number 3 of 1978. So if the defaulter tried to not allowing the fiscal to do his duty, taking over the assets and all, it is a contempt of court and thereby under Judicial Act number 3 of 1978, he will be guilty. What is Judicial Act number 3 of 1978? Can you remember? The same act, I think, where Ranjan Ramanayak was charged. content of court. Okay. If the defaulter disposes, this is the other important salient feature. If the defaulter disposes or alienates any movable or immovable property after the degree in eyesight, such alienation shall be null and void, and no force or effect in law, and shall be open to seizure in whoever's hand such property may be. Section 15(2) of the Act. After the degree in eyesight, if customer has transferred movable or immovable property, that transaction will be null and void. And very, very serious. Taking the case of this defaulter is having a account with you. He is maintaining accounts with you, right? Now he's not defaulter of yours. He's defaulter of some other bank. And that bank has filed action and taken under taken a nice eye order. And nice eye order was published in the newspapers. Now the same customer is having accounts with your bank. He's having a fixed deposit, or having current accounts, or having savings accounts. Any withdrawals from those accounts will be will be legally not void, null and void. The transaction is null and void. So you are liable to the courts pay back that amount for the writ order. This is the seriousness. That's what I told in my early sessions. Newspapers are very important. Information source for us. Very important information source for us. Go through. It's nice I orders are there. See whether the customer you are having account for that customer, then take immediate precautionary action. That account has to be suspended. Should not be allowed to operate. Okay. This is the seriousness of this act. No sum money be recovered as penalty of a default. No penalty charges. All right. Now, for example, most of the earlier, our loan agreements say loan interest of 15% per annum, and if not paid regularly, 3% penalty will be added. If you are having such term in your agreement, you can file action under the Debt Recovery Act. You cannot recover penalty. So therefore, after that Debt Recovery Act, now our wording in the loan agreement, just check up and see if the wordings are correctly worded. Now, for example, 15% interest, 3% penalty. So our wording is this loan will be charged 18% interest, and if paid regularly, 3% rebate will be granted. Yes, no penalty. 3% rebate will be granted if you are paid. So 15% is applied on a reverse way. Okay, so we have changed our documentation. Just see whether it is implemented by you all also. Court may allow the degree in eyesight, the interest agreed upon between the parties up to the date of degree in eyesight, and interest at the same rate to the date of settlement. Section 20. Now, according to the normal money action, you can recover the bank interest up to the time of judgment. You can charge interest up to the time of judgment. So, in the case of filing action, we say at the date of the filing action, interest due up to this date so much, and further interest from this date on to judgment date, this under this percentage. Thereafter, you can't charge the bank interest rate. After the judgment, you can charge only the legal interest charge. That can be 5%, or depending on the period, or the legal interest. You can apply only legal interest. But under Debt Recovery Act, you can charge your same interest till the last cent is paid. Taking the case of your agreement has been mentioned, 18% interest and 3% rebate will be given if the customer settles on the due date. But he had defaulted now. Now you can apply 18% till the last settlement. That means you include the penalty rate also in the penal rate also into that, and you are recovered. You are allowed to recover. Okay, then nothing in the Debt Conciliation Ordinance Chapter 31 and Money Lending Ordinance Chapter 80 shall apply to or in relation to an institution. Section 20. This is another important factor. Right? But Debt Conciliation Ordinance, according to Debt Conciliation Ordinance, if any customer or any borrower have defaulted, he is unable to pay his dues, he can get a concession. He can ask for a concession from Debt Conciliation Board. So this Debt Conciliation Board established to look into the grievances of the defaulters and giving concession orders. When the Debt Conciliation Board given an order, we had to carry out that order. For example, customer said that I can pay monthly only 500 rupees. So then Conciliation Board giving order to the bank only can be recovered 500 rupees. So you can't recover more than that. Then it will not applicable to the lending institutions defined in Section 2 of this Act. Section 2 of this Act may define the legal institutions, they can apply only there. Secondly, Money Lending Ordinance, Chapter 18. What is important factor in the Money Lending Ordinance is you cannot recover interest more than the capital. Money Lending Ordinance is capital vada valuing interest charge karana bad. Okay. Under this Act, Section 24 says you can recover any amount. Money Lending Ordinance will not be applied to under the Debt Recovery Act to the institutions. So you can recover any amount. Where any debtor of institution dies before the institution of an action, or any defaulter dies after the institution of this action, court may serve the notice upon the probate of the last will. All other cases, all of the recovery cases, if the debtor or defaulter died at the time of before its recovery, the case will be over. You cannot continue the recovery thereafter. But under Debt Recovery Act, even the customer dies, this judgment will affect on his last will or the probate. Okay. So this is the more salient features of Debt Recovery Act. You can see. Right. Another important factor is there in the Debt Recovery Act. That is Section 25 of the Debt Recovery Act. Section 25 of the Debt Recovery Act. Very important feature which is there in the Debt Recovery Act. Any person who draws a check knowing that there's no funds or no sufficient funds to bank to honor such check. If a customer draws a check knowing that there's no funds in the account, B makes an order to banker to pay sum of money which payment not paid by reason of there being no obligation in such banker to make payment by reason the payment time being countermanded. Countermanded. What is countermanded? Stop payment. If a customer stop making a stop payment, knowing that funds are not available in the account, shall be guilty of an offence under this Act. Guilty an offence in this Act. So it's a criminal offence. It's a criminal offence. Under this Act, I shall conviction by a magistrate after summary trial will be liable to punishment with imprisonment of either description for a term not may extend to 1 year or with a fine of 10,000 rupees or 10% of the full value of the check. Or the authority to oil and bill in respect of which the offence is committed, whichever higher or with the both such fine and imprisonment. Check එකක් issue කරොත් salary නැති. ඒක return වුණා නම් check එක ලබාගත පුද්ගලයාට පුළුවන් court bureau එකට ගිහලා entry එකක් දාලා නඩුවක් පවරලා අන්න magistrate court and get together case එක file කරන්න. Okay. ඊළඟ මේකදී තව feature තියෙනවා. Use an authority to an institution to pay a sum of money to itself in payment of a debt or a loan to any part thereof owed to such institution. Now, if we have taken checks from a customer to settle a loan, okay, if you have taken a check to settle a loan from a customer, even your own loan, your own customer, own bank check taken, if it defaulted, right? Check given adequate salary tibun netta, right? Having been withdrawn reason such person countermanding, having accepted Indian bill on dishonest unpaid. That also falls under breach of this contract. Breach of trust and can be filed action in the magistrate courts. A check එකකට පුනා නඩු දාලා customer හිරේ යවන්න පුළුවන්. Okay. Right. So මම ඉවර කරේ නෑ. ඒක ලියන්න එපා. So therefore there are two more things to be discussed. So this is the recovery procedures. Please take up and give value. You may see in that what are the action can be taken. First, restructure initially with rehabilitation of customer. We discuss our compromise settlement. Enforcing of document legal action, litigation. First one, do nothing. Book out. These are the other actions available for us. So let us these two actions also and finally discuss. What are these actions? The first one is do nothing. Whenever customer defaulted, due to the reason the fact has been temporary issue, a temporary failure, it can be established later on. What action you can take? You can't do anything. Now taking the case of present situation in the country. Most of the facilities are defaulted due to reason they are uncontrollable factors. Factors are beyond his control. He is not a willful defaulter. But you cannot take certain decision. Taking the case of the import ban. Certain customer is doing certain business, importing certain products. Now import has been banned temporarily. Vehicle, did I tell you case of vehicle? Vehicle imports are banned. Now customer obtains a large amount of loans to do his business. Maybe mostly with working capital. Now what action we can take? We are given a moratorium. Okay. So how long we can use moratorium? We don't know in the near future whether this industry will be come back to a normal situation. Sometimes it can be come back to normal situation in a short period. Sometimes it can be taken a longer period. Now, if you take the vehicle import situation, still we have no what do you call foresee, cannot foresee any near future. This industry will be react. This industry will be come back to normal. We can't see any issue. There are certain instances, certain industries, maybe for a short term, it has been fallen and it may come back. It has happened to our tea industry. Our tea industry has been collapsed. So the loans given to the in the tea industry was defaulted. So what action we had to take? Either go for parade, take all their properties and sell. To whom you are going to sell? There's no market to sell because that industry has been completely collapsed. Or we cannot go for legal litigation. Why? There's no cash flow to pay. The same problem we are having at the moment with today's most of the industries. There's no business has been revamped, re-established, specifically the vehicle imports. Till it's come back to normal position, there's no cash flow to recover. So what action we can take? We can't do anything, we have to wait and see. We may take the properties of the customer to recover our part, but customer will not be come back to the business. It's completely bankrupted. It's going to completely bankrupt. We are going to do that. Moratorium will not help this. I discussed about the moratorium in one of the cases. It has to be terminal benefited. Given as a terminal benefit. Finally, my observation is you can't do anything. It has happened to our tourism industry in 1983. In 1983 riots, after the riots, our entire tourist industry has been collapsed. Tourist industry has been collapsed. 25 years. It took 25 years to come back to tourism in a normal situation. Come back to normal situation, it took about 25 years. Today also the same position we are having with the tourist industry. So what we have to do is, the government in 1983, after this riot collapse, so banks were given a rebate of 2% for such loans by the government to keep that loans without any recovery till the industry come back to normal. So this is how the banks and the industries has to go along with that. You cannot take Shylock's decisions. You have to do practical. Next one is, final one is book out. Earlier we call as write-offs, capital write-offs. When the facility is unable to recover, there's no way of recovery. Customer's cash flow is deteriorated, no collateral, nothing. Ultimate, we had to put a paper to board of directors, get a write-off. But the board only has the authority to do the write-offs. So we had to get a write-off. Now who had to prepare the board paper? The branch manager. And that has to go through the channel to the board of directors to write off. Will the board of directors will straight away give the write-offs? Never. They will inquire into that because the write-off is the ultimately survival of the bank. Survival of the bank. Therefore, board always find out what the reason. Why it has been defaulted. What are the action you have taken? Who is responsible for granting this facility? who is recommended this facility, who has appraised this facility. All the information board will ask. Therefore, it is ultimately turning on your personal career. If the board has taken negative decision, affecting you. Right. Finally, how to practically do this write-off? That was very important. Normally, when it comes to capital write-off, we get the approval for write-off for the board of directors, and we will not remove entire loan facility from the bank, our books. We keep a nominal value. 1 rupee balance in the account, and balance will be transferred to P&L at a write-off. So we normally, therefore, we don't call this as a write-off; it's a book out. Purpose of keeping 1 rupee in the account is keeping that customer as defaulted in our books forever. Keeping the defaulter in our books as a defaulter forever. He will be appearing in the cribs forever. If you want to come after some time, he may have established his business, come back to business, and he is now able to go ahead. Then we can call back him and ask to pay our loan. If you say completely written off, what will happen? Completely written off, customer will file action against us. There's no loan. He's not liable for any loan that's already written off. You have no liability. Therefore, we keep 1 rupee and keep his name as a defaulter for lifetime. So these are the practically how we do, how we apply our recovery procedures. So I have discussed 6 step procedures available for our recovery. So selecting the best option is yours. Okay, with that, my sessions are over. When it comes to the final announcements from the IBSL, let's see how many of are there. Okay. Still, 14 of y'all are there. Very good. So, first, your examination is rescheduled for 8th May. Okay. The examination has been rescheduled for 8th May. Final date of submission of project report is given up to 17th of April. Right? 18th, 17th of April, Sunday, the last day of submission of your project reports. 8th of May, your examination. That's announcement from the IBSL. Then it is my duty to discuss about what is the examination, how to face the examination, what is the marking scheme, how we, on the IBSL, look at your, what you call your examination, how will we the results. Okay. Your examination will be held on, there will be 2 papers. There are 2 question papers for you. Examination structure will be, we have 2 structures. One is open paper examination, other one is closed book examination. Open book examination, closed books examination. Open books examination we already given, assignment given by Dr. Loganathan, and I have given the project report. Those are called open books examinations. Carries, I told you earlier, 20 marks for the project report, 10 marks for the assignment. Right. Next comes to the your written examination, which is going to be held on 30th, there will be two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, paper 1 is consists of three questions. There are three questions available there. Out of that, you have to answer for two questions. Okay. So marks will be, you have to obtain 51 marks on each paper. 1 and 2. Minimum of 51 marks you have to get. Each paper you have to get 51 marks to get through your examinations. This paper consists of part 1, compulsory question. Question number 1 is compulsory. That is preparing the ratios and interpretation of the ratios. You are given a balance sheet and the P&L and the description of the business. Right? It's a compulsory question. If you have not answered this question, even though you have collect from others more than required marks, you are not considered for complete the examination. So compulsory questions must be answered. And question number 1 is ratios, ratio analysis and interpretation of ratios. So there are two more questions given there. Question number 3, 2 and 3. Out of that, you can select one question. Right? So that is will be from uh, 2 and 3 are based on the accounts what we have discussed. Question number 2 from my area what we have discussed. Projected income statement, projected financial statements, working capital finance, cash flow projections, fund flow projections, break-even analysis. මේ පහෙන් එකකින් මේ areas පහෙන් එක question එකක් කියනවා. Okay. Break-even analysis, working capital finance, fund flow analysis, cash flow analysis, financial projections. There are 5 areas I have discussed with you in my session. Out of that, there will be one question that also sum. Okay. Then other question will be Dr. Loganathan's capital investment techniques. Right? Dr. Loganathan who did capital investment techniques, that is IRR techniques, NPV techniques, payback method techniques, then time value of money, all this, that area, can you remember? So out of that one question. So paper number 1 are all calculations. All calculations are calculation of sums. So it carries 50 marks. Okay. 30 marks for first question. Either 2 or 3 are select. One question from 2 or 3. So you have to answer 2 questions and answer. There are 2 questions on the section 2 and 3. Out of that, you have to select only 1. So question number 1 is compulsory. Either 2 or 3 you select. Total marks 50. So first paper will be 50 marks. First paper will be 50 marks. Okay. The second paper consists of 8 questions, out of which there are how many sections? 1, 2. A, B, C, C. Yeah. There are 8 questions. Out of that, 2 questions from section A 2 questions from section A, 1 question from B, and 2 questions from section C. Right? Carefully read the description given here. 1 question, 2 questions from the section A, 2 questions from section A, 1 question from section B, and 2 questions from section C. Altogether 5 questions we have to answer. Each question carries 20 marks. So out of that, we have to collect 51 marks to get to the paper. 51 marks to get to the paper. So finally, let's see what are the sections. Section A consists of credit appraisal part. Okay. The credit appraisal, credit policy decisions, that part we have to, I think Dr. Roghunath has discussed this one. And then corporate credit, that is credit appraisal part, the credit appraisal techniques, credit analytical techniques, that area will be overall one on the section A, question number 1, question number 2, question number 3 are based on the credit appraisals. Okay, credit policy, credit guidelines, and that area also in corporate finance part. Section B consists of finance. Section B consists of international trade and credit risk management. International trade and credit risk management. Now you have to select 1 question from section B. Either you can select international trade question or you can select risk management question. Okay. Then section C consists of securities and documentation and recovery management. That is final part what we are discussing today. We finished today, right? So there will be 2 questions from recovery management, 1 question from securities. You can select 2 out of that, either both recovery management or 1 recovery management, 1 security documentation, like that you can select. Altogether 5 questions we have to answer. So you have to at least minimum of 51 marks to be obtained from this paper. Okay. Now finally, final paper will be add all these marks together and average into 100. That is 51, 100 marks for question number paper 2, 100 marks for paper 2, 50 marks for paper 1, and then project and the assignment, another 30 marks, altogether weighted for 100. From that, minimum 51 marks, aggregate marks, right? When I've aggregated all the marks, all the three sections, that is assignments, project report, paper 1, paper 2. When we weighted to 100, you have to take minimum of 51 to get to this examination. Okay. So marking system also a little complex. Therefore, written examination, we are given more weight, written part. So paper 1, 50 marks, paper 2, 100 marks. Right? So the more now you can select out of that which area you're going to answer the questions. This is not the knowledge, we are not reading for the knowledge, no? That can be done later. So the examination, for each part, look at the past papers and select one area whichever you are comfortable. And try to go through that area to answer your questions. Okay, right. Before I wind up, something more I want to tell about the how to pay, so how we final marks will be looked into when they come to finalize, and how we analyze, how we evaluate and analyze your answer scripts. When you are answering answer scripts, keep in mind one separate questions in separate papers. Okay. Now, if you write start question number one compulsory, after that, finishing that, you start the second question, that is 2 or 3, 2 or 3 in a separate paper. Similarly, each question you select from the question B also written in separate papers. That should not be continued. Take a paper and once you write, for example, one page, second question should not be started from the bottom or on the reverse. Start from a new paper. Ample papers are available. රටේ පත්තර මේ papers නැති වුණාට අපි ළඟ papers තියෙනවා. ඕන තරම් දෙන්න. ලියන්න පුළුවන් තරම් ලියන්න. Okay. Then you have to start with a new paper, because what will happen when after answer scripts are brought back to IBSL, they will be detached all the answer scripts. For each and every part is marked by the relevant lecturer who has prepared the question paper. The question is formulated by lecturer tamai, we have been sent back the answer script. So අර විදිහට එක paper එක දෙපැත්තේ ලියුවා නම්, then sometimes you may lose getting your answer has been verified by the examiner. In fact, any paper can always start with a new paper. Right? Page new paper. Right? Then answering questions is another important factor. What is the question formed? If you have asked to describe, then you have to do a full description of the answer, full describe answer. If you are asked to briefly describe, then it should be in a small paras. Right? Then explain, then you have to explain with the examples and other portfolios, other relevant materials. When you write short notes, keep in mind short notes, how many marks you are given, and allocate the time accordingly. Right? Allocate the time accordingly. Now, for example, if the question carries 5 marks, if you try to write half an hour for that question, then you will be a loser. You cannot manage the time. So try to manage the time carefully. That is important. Within the period, the question papers are set up in a manner where how much you can write. Right? That way we have discussed. So do it that way. Then finally, answering the question papers, basically there are certain other important factors keep in mind. Right? Most of the instances I have seen, you are not specific for the answer question. Answer should be specific for the answer. Someone try to describe our entire field, entire whatever discuss, all these things to answer one factor. Right? So we had to go through entire paper to find out the relevant factor. එක factor එකක් හොයන්න මුළු paper එකම කියවන්න වෙනවා සමහරවිට. So it's wasting of time. මේක අපි කියන යුනිවර්සිටි එකේ that's a principle. අඹ ගහට ගල් ගහන න්‍යාය, අඹ ගහට පොළු ගහන න්‍යාය. යුනිවර්සිටි එක අපි කියන්නේ අඹ ගහට ගල් ගහන න්‍යාය, අඹ ගහට පොළු ගහන න්‍යාය. අඹ ගහට ගල් ගහන න්‍යාය means අඹ ගහේ ගලක් ගැහුවා නම් ඒක නැට්ටට වැදුනා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ගෙඩියක් වැටෙනවා. Specifically you attack at the fruit, it will fall. ඒක තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු නිශ්චිතව තියෙන්න ඕන. Specifically for that answer should related to the question. Sometimes we have found come across, you have not understood the question. That will be the biggest problem. Carefully read and understand the question, what the examiner asking from you, not what you know. You are not, most of the time you are answering what you are knowing that, but not it's related to the question which are asked by the examiner. Second one is සමහර පොළු ගහන න්‍යාය. පොල්ලක් ගැහුවොත් අප අත්තට වැදුනොත් අත්ත හෙලවිලා ගෙඩියක් වැටීමේ probability එකක් තියෙනවා. මුගක් අයගේ practice එක අඹ ගහන පොළු ගහන න්‍යාය. කොහෙන් අර ගෙඩියක් වැටෙන්නේ නැද්ද අත්තකට වැදිලා? උඩ මාස් කලෙක්ට් කරන්න තාම අමාරුයි. When it comes to finalize your result, we find very difficulties. When we find very difficult. When you have come to a borderline, ඔක්කොම එකතු කරාට පස්සේ that means average level එකට ගෙනල්ලා all the sections, assignments, project report, paper 1, paper 2. Mark scheme of amalgamate කරලා when it comes to the what you call average level එකට ඇවිල්ලා average 100 වලින් marks දෙන්න ඕනේ. 51 marks තියෙන්න ඕනේ. If you obtain 48, 49, okay, marks level එකට ආව, we try our level best to push you up. We try level best to push you up. කොමාර තල්ලු කරලා කොට දාන්න බලනවා. ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ if you there are certain conditions. Number one is assignment and project report should be submitted. They submit කරලා තියෙනවා. Question 1 එක answer කරලා තියෙනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්. ඒක පළවෙනි paper එකේ paper questions තුලින් දෙකකට answer එක ලියලා තියෙනවා. පළවෙනි එක answer කරලා තියෙනවා. දෙවෙනි එක answer කරන්න දෙවෙනි question එක answer කරන්න ඕනේ. paper 2 එකේ 8න් 5ක් select කරගන්න ඕන. You can get the wider choice. So 5 questions you have to select. 5 questions වලටම try කරලා තියෙන්න ඕන. Questions 4ක් ලියලා එකක් අතහැරියා නම් then average mark අපිට මේ අර push up කරන්න යනකොට අපිට marks දෙනකොට නොලියපු එකට marks එන්නේ නැහැ. හරි? ඒ නිසා that those papers will be not be considered for upward pushing upward. And අනිත් එක ඒ නිසා මේ එක question අඩු ගන්න attempt කරලවත් තියෙන්න ඕන. attempt කරලවත් තියෙන්න ඕන. Right? Those are the instructions from me for your examination and how to write the examination and be specific. Try to write it clearly, maximum possible. Write it clearly because Amar Samar Estik Amar again. Okay. Other thing is use on the ballpoint use karana light colors use karanipa. Sometimes light colors use karan pain nathiyanawa. We can't read sometimes. We are finding difficulty in reading your papers. That's something. It can be disadvantage for you sometime later. So therefore, write it clearly. Must write it clearly and use a dark color pen. Right? Either blue or black should be a dark color one, not a light color pen. Make a use can Okay, so that's all from me and for the session. So, okay. So I'll wind up the session. Thank you very much for being with me. About 14 participants are there from 150. I don't know how other people are going to do it. Recording exam anyway, can't help. Sometimes the power failures are also affecting you all. We understand that also. So that's why the recordings are available. You can follow recordings. So if you have any question, any problem, any queries, clarifications, right, regarding the papers, or you can call me. I'm available for you anytime. I'm there to help you. Okay, wish you all the best and good luck. And I expect more and more credit, what do you call, professionals in credit line maybe come out from you all. All the best, good luck. Any questions? I'm here. You can answer the questions further.